With the April 2025 Founders Q&A for Exodus, while it's not mind-blowing and earth-shattering and life-changing, it heralds a lot of potential. For this Q&A, Chad Robertson, one of Archetype's co-founders and the executive producer for Exodus, is joined by Drew Karpyshyn, the narrative director. We all remember Karpyshyn from Mass Effect and KOTOR. He's also written a few books. Joining them is Jesse Skye, who is the creative director. Kicking this one off on the question of how much time is going to pass, the part that was interesting was when they talked about the beginning of the game. We already know that large chunks of time are going to pass because of time dilation, and that the farther along you go, the more epic it becomes. However, you're going to start out on a very personal level. It sounds like what they want you to do is to define your character, become connected to your character, so that you actually care about all of those big missions and all of the people and the planets that are going to change. Because that is something that has been seriously lacking in most games these days. And they did say this is the hero's journey. You're going to start off small and end big. Here's hoping we get to define all of our character traits along the way through the story. Next, the question was, can we play as an awakened? No, you cannot play as an awakened. We do get an awakened companion, however. They did not go into details. Awakened are, if you're not aware, are those animals that have been lifted up. Everything from frogs, pigs, boars, bears, and if you've been watching Star Heist, you know they have awakened spiders. Blech. There was yet another question about what kinds of creatures are going to be in this universe, and no, there are no true alien creatures. Whether that creature is a changeling, awakened, a celestial, or just a run-of-the-mill human, they all originated on Earth. 40,000 years of evolution and a whole lot of science have created these alien beings. Next up might be one of the most important questions and answers they've done so far. What is traveling and the world like? Is it open world? No, it is not open world. They enthusiastically liken it to Mass Effect and KOTOR, and by extension, Dragon Age Origins, as James Ollins also worked on Origins. We at the Outpost can't stress enough just how happy that makes us. Jesse Skye does say there will be some quests that we can do in whatever order we want, but this is not open world. Honestly, that is great news. Open world games are great for that first time playthrough, I suppose, but multiple playthroughs, not so much. At least not as far as the Outpost is concerned. If I want to try to experience multiple play styles, I don't want a 500-hour game that I know I'll never finish because of all those tedious little side quests. And I know I don't have to do them all, but I have to do them all. As far as what other Celestials we might meet, well, we're going to focus on the Crown Dominion and the Marayama. We'll also be discovering the Celestials who founded Leyden. They seem to leave it open whether or not we would meet some of the other Celestials, especially those mentioned in Peter F. Hamilton's book, The Archimedes Engine. Next was an interesting point about the Travelers. While they are generally aligned to promote humanity, Traveler dynasties are not this monolithic group. Either dynasties or individuals will have their own motivations, and they may in fact conflict with ours. Interesting tidbit from Karpyshyn about these dynasties is that they're there because when the Travelers leave and go out for 40, 100, or 200 years on their exodus, things have to happen back home. Things that promote and further the values and goals of the Travelers. Therefore, each group has established their own dynasty to make those things happen while they're away. Next up was a question about the rot. The rot is a phenomenon that affects celestial technology, degrades it, and ultimately destroys it, and will probably bring about the destruction of Leyden unless we do something about it. It isn't understood, its origins are a mystery, how it does what it does is a mystery. Interestingly enough, Jesse Skye says it's not just a plot point. It will affect how we traverse and interact with the world. The next question about what drives our player, Jesse Skye tells us that while we start off humble enough, soon we'll figure out that we have a bigger part to play. An interesting point he did make is that the better off your home world, well, the more attention from those far more powerful Celestials you're going to garner. And again, Drew Karpyshyn emphasized that you start with humble beginnings, but the story evolves and becomes epic. It doesn't start off that way. We're not just thrust into it, and it sounds like we may get to grow into it, which means we may actually get to shape and understand our characters. On the next question about the vision of Exodus, it is nice to know that most of the original tenets that they came up with are still there. In fact, they're so proud of the fact that what they originally envisioned is something they're still working on. They've actually framed them and hung them on the walls. And not as a, hey, look where we started from and man, it's really changed, but more of, wow, we've kept our core vision this whole time. Now, whether that's just they're downright good at their job or they have excellent leadership or both, this sounds like a good thing. On the question of are there outcomes that only a few people will see, well, certainly glad to know that yes, there will be. And hopefully that means replayability and that they're not looking to make a one-size-fits-all ending. As far as relationships, well, Sky says they are a huge part of the game, and he used the word huge, so I'm going to hold him to that. And if they're not a huge part of the game, I'm going to go to Texas and ask him why. Well, I won't actually do that. I'll just make a video going wah, 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 they weren't a huge part of the game. And yes, we will have romances. So that'll wrap up the Founders Q&A for April 2025. This light a fire for anybody? What are your thoughts? Drop them in the comments below. And remember, if you like the content, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.